Isometric games. They pull out such a nostalgic feeling out of me. And for a good reason, they were super cool looking and very popular back in the day. On top of that, I've been highly appreciating them after learning about underlying fundamentals and interesting ways of developers' creative thinking. What I find fascinating the most is the lack of resources they had. Working in such a restricted environment unlocked amazing creative ideas to go around these hardware limitations. So today I wanted to briefly revisit some of these techniques developers use to achieve this super cool look. First thing we need to talk about, and the thing I notice people often get wrong, is the projection. There are many types of projections, but in games we mostly see these two: perspective projection and orthographic projection. If you're interested to learn more in depth about projections, there will be a video covering this topic specifically soon. Hopefully I remember to link it over here. But for the scope of today's video, we'll only care about differences and main characteristics of these projections, as well as what people often get wrong about them. Main difference, which is important for us to remember, is that when we are using perspective projection, the further away object is, the smaller it gets, just like in real life. And also, parallel lines don't remain parallel. This is often used in modern 3D first-person and third-person games, as it achieves this effect of realism. If we try to imagine a grid with this perspective, we'll notice big differences in tiles. This makes it super hard to tile them uniformly. But if we switch to a grid with an orthographic projection, we'll notice that all blocks retain same proportions, no matter how far or how close we get. Also notice that parallel lines remain parallel. This makes it super easy to tile levels, objects, characters, anything. Now, there is a lot of confusion and misuse of words isometric and orthographic when it comes to video game community. All you need to remember is this picture specifically. So orthographic is just a form of parallel projection which contains multiple forms: isometric, dimetric, and trimetric. Each of which has its own quirks, but it's important that all of them are not changing, no matter how close or how far block is relative to the camera, and all the parallel lines will remain parallel. We see a lot of games that are called isometric, but they aren't truly isometric. To be truly isometric, all axes, x, y, and z, should be oriented 120 degrees relative to each other, which is not always the case. And why, you may ask? Well, simply because when looking at the cube from this perspective, pixel lines don't follow a neat pattern, which was number one, harder for pixel artists to deal with, and number two, doesn't look really good. All the lines would be mostly jagged. In modern times, we could just simply avoid this by using anti-aliasing, but remember, back in the day, that really wasn't an option due to resources. We're dealing with huge hardware limitations. So what people did instead was they first drew a block that was easy to draw in pixel art and which looked good, and only then observed what kind of projection this was. It follows this 2:1 pixel ratio, and measuring angles between the axes would come out to these values. So notice that only 2 out of these 3 angles were the same, so we call this a variation of dimetric projection with 2:1 pixel ratio. So even though other projections were used as well, this was simply the most common, so we'll use that one in our explanations today, but all the principles you see in this video should be relatively similar and easily transferable to other types of parallel projection. Okay, that's great and all, but how does this actually work? This is a part where we get to talk about space transformations. To preserve parallel relationships means to have an affine spatial transformation. So the affine transformations are what we're looking for here. And the way of transforming coordinates from one space to the other is very simply achieved by just multiplying coordinates with some matrix. But which matrix? That's what we're going to figure out today. So first, let's imagine we have our 2D grid, representing a plane in which our screen exists. And now imagine our second grid. It's the way we actually want to position our cubes. So how do we get from here to here? We'll break it down in 3 steps. But before that, to make our lives easier, let's just visualize our unit vectors, I hat and j hat. Remember, we want them to go from here to here. If we carefully examine our animation, we'll notice 3 things. We basically want our unit vectors to be rotated, then to become a full diagonal of a 1 by 1 square, and then to squash it in half on the y-axis. So first step is the rotation. This is how rotation affine matrix looks like. Since we are rotating around z-axis, we are not touching the z component of this matrix. And since we want to rotate for 45 degrees, so our theta will be equal to 45 degrees. So this is how applying this transformation looks like. Okay, next step, we said we want our unit vector to become a full diagonal of 1 by 1 square. By using a simple Pythagorean theorem, we know that this diagonal equals to square root of 2. So we need to scale our space by square root of 2. This is a affine matrix for scaling. So we scale both x and y for square root of 2. And this is how this transformation looks like. Only thing left to do is to squash it in half on the y-axis. So we use the same scaling affine matrix to do so, but now we only scale the y-axis with 1/2. So in the combination with our previous transformations, this is how it looks like. And we're there, isn't this cool? To make our lives easier once again, the thing we need to know about matrices is that they are associative, meaning the order in which we multiply things matters, but whether we are doing a times b times c or a times b times c doesn't really matter. It simply means that we can come up with all individual transformations and combine them into one final transformation matrix. So we can work out our multiplications and get our final transformation matrix. And even better, since we're dealing with 2D space purely and our z-axis is constantly 1 and we are never touching it, we can just put this into a 2 times 2 matrix. What is the benefit of doing so? Well, besides obviously being lighter and easier to compute, it's also a lot easier to invert it. To invert 2 times 2 matrix, we use this simple trick. And by working it out, we get our simple inverse matrix, which is super handy for going back from this orthogonal space to our 2D screen space. Most commonly because our mouse cursor lives in 2D screen space. And in order to go from our game coordinates to our screen coordinates, we simply inverse them using this transformation. Those would be all the underlying mechanisms that you need to understand in order for you to implement this in your game. But in this video specifically, I just wanted to briefly touch on it and explain mathematics behind it. If you'd like me to do a full tutorial on how to actually implement this in code inside of your game, please let me know and I can make a video about it as well. If you found this video helpful, please consider donating, as it would greatly help me allocate more time to making videos like these. And thank you so much for watching.